Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, April 8th, getting the months right. We're progressing into the MLB regular season opening day yesterday. And Derek, Greinke, maybe not enough zip, but sure got his fair share of two strike counts, just couldn't ultimately get that third strike by a lot of batters. So maybe not the start we wanted to begin the regular season.
Yeah, not ideal, but I mean, it's a long season. Like, I think anyone who's doing sports betting, I would hope, understands that it's a long game and none of this is guaranteed. You know, we're playing probabilities here. You know, we're not saying for sure this is going to happen. We're saying, okay, Zach Greinke yesterday had a 58% chance of beating his prop, and we were getting plus money at the start of it. And so it was a good bet. But that's still going to lose 42% of the time, and it did. But over the long run, you bet that enough, you're profitable.
And if you bet it enough, you're profitable. And if you have the right amount of sports books and as many accounts as you can, you're going to find prices that provide more value as well. So I think that was especially well said. Before we get into the release for today, just want to remind everybody there's a subscribe button down below. If you're enjoying the content we're doing here at covers.com, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notifications for every BatX release show Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, throughout the course of, as you mentioned, a very, very long MLB season. So plenty of props to come. And before we get to the first one today, just want to remind you, if this is your first release show video, here's how we do it. It's a little bit different from other shows that you may have watched for picks. Derek and the BatX, the most respected projection system when it comes to Major League Baseball. And so if we were just to give out the pick right now, as we saw yesterday, not going to happen. And it's not going to work for everybody that's watching the show because the lines, they're going to move almost immediately from when we give it out. So we follow this release procedure. It's very simple. It gives everybody a chance to do things together and progress through the Sportsbook app to get to the same point at the end. So everybody is able to make the bet at the same time, hopefully at the same price. So very simply, we'll start off by saying what game we are betting on. That is your cue to open your Sportsbook app, find the game, expand it, and ultimately continue on with the release procedure. We'll say what prop market that we are betting on. That'll give you a chance to go through the menu. You can find it, go to the market. That'll be your chance to get to step number 2. We'll then tell you what team the player we are betting on plays for. And so depending on the sort at your Sportsbook, you'll see kind of different ordering. This will give you a chance to kind of single in and find that specific team and players for when we're ready. And then we'll tell you who the player is and what the bet is. And from this point, it's really a race to get that price, get the bet into your account. Because as we saw yesterday, we're giving the bets out. These prices are going to move. And as the season progresses, they're going to move quicker, they're going to move faster, and they're going to move more. As we've seen with every release show we do here on Covers, we're bringing the best talent in like Derek, so people follow his opinion. They know he's a long-term winner, and that's going to impact these betting markets. So yesterday, not the result we wanted. Moving on to today. And Derek, I think if you're good to go, let's get into the release.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the caveat for today, which we'll start doing now as we're going forward, is we'll kind of give you a hint at the best sports books to play at. So if you are a player at BetMGM, that is where you're going to find the best price today. And we're going to continue to evaluate these markets to see how things sort of move and how they set up. But we'll try this and see if it can help some folks. So if you do have BetMGM, I would suggest opening that app and going through the release procedure at that sportsbook. If you have other ones, it'll be price dependent. We'll mention as we go what price we're at, and then we'll get into the break-even percentage in just a second. So if you have BetMGM, start the release process. If you have other sportsbooks, that'll work just fine as well. So we'll start off with step 1, and that is the game we are playing, or the game which the prop is within, and that is the Boston Red Sox at the New York Yankees. This is the early games. We're about 2 hours from first pitch. This is the Boston Red Sox at the New York Yankees. That is the game that you will want to expand as we'll continue looking for a prop within this specific game. So it is the Boston Red Sox at the New York Yankees. Now that everybody's there, we'll move on to the market. And the market for which the prop we are playing today is in is pitcher strikeouts under the player prop menu. The market is pitcher strikeouts. So it is a K prop. is under the player prop menu. So it's also under the Red Sox-Yankees game. So everybody should be there. We'll give you a couple more seconds to get into the K-props for Boston, New York. The team which we are betting on is the Boston Red Sox. So we're focusing on the Boston starting pitcher, which is obviously Eovaldi. So we'll be betting a prop on Eovaldi, and in 3 seconds, I'll give the prop for which we are betting. The bet today is Nathan Eovaldi under 5.5 strikeouts, and we'll do the release at minus 150, as we're seeing here on the screen is available at MGM at minus 130. We'll get to the break-even percentage, which is quite high, but if you're in that minus 150 range, this is still a bet on under 5.5. And we want to know, if you're in the chat, what price did you get? What sportsbook were you betting at? Let us know. There's the live chat menu on the right-hand side of the screen. Where were you playing it? What price were you seeing? And how did it go for you? I know people were saying that other pitchers from other games were being pulled off the board, but we didn't have any issues seeing anything off the board with Eovaldi. But let us know in the comments where you were betting, what price you were able to find, and we'll see kind of how close everyone was able to get. So we saw a minus 130, obviously considerably better than the release. For those of you who are at DK, who amazingly were taking this bet, Jared Hodgman, minus 140 at PointsBet. Betway, minus 138. We saw for the prop builder tools, minus 143. Liam was with us at BetMGM, minus 130. We're seeing FanDuel under at minus 152. So right in line with that release number, minus 130 for J-Rod at MGM, who was following along as well. So it does look like, Derek, a few people were able to get to that suggested sportsbook and at least get the bet in at that spot. We'll continue kind of monitor how this works and what people are able to get or what they're able to find. But seems like people were able to get better than the release price at a couple of books, which is what we always want to see. But let's get into Eovaldi here. Tell me what you're seeing. What made you look at the under? And also, what is the break even here that you were seeing at this 5.5 price?
Yeah, so the bet has Eovaldi projected for a little under 4.5 strikeouts here. So the break even is over negative 200. So 5.5 is, I think, a good line, even though it's, negative 130, negative 150. I still think, given the projection, this looks pretty good. The bat says that he should go under this projection 69% of the time. So 30% of the time it won't happen, but that's a pretty good number. And it's a good matchup. So, or rather, it's a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup because
good matchup for the prop.
Yeah, exactly. Bad matchup for Eovaldi. Because the Yankees offense is really, really good. And it's weird because a lot of times we see the public kind of like overrate, a big market offense like the Yankees. But the perception this year kind of seems to be that the Yankees are not an elite team, and they are. The Yankees are probably the best team in the American League. Their offense is really, really good. And it's a little bit lower strikeout of a Yankees offense than we saw last year. The addition of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, very low strikeout guy. Anthony Rizzo, who was only with the team for part of last year, very low strikeout guy. DJ LeMahieu, low strikeout. Josh Donaldson, who they just added, is a really good hitter and, very reasonable strikeout guy. So they have some of the big guys, Gallo, Stanton, Judge. But for the most part, this is a very reasonable strikeout lineup. It's above average weather for hitting, which is not good for Eovaldi. We have double-digit winds blowing out, which is good. And he's a reverse splits guy. So even though he's going to have platoon advantage against 6 batters in this lineup, his reverse split kind of makes that a little bit unfavorable. So you throw all this together, and it just doesn't look like a great spot for Eovaldi, especially because facing such a good lineup that is the New York Yankees, he's going to get hit around a little bit, or at least he should. Probably will not go as deep into the game. And so just from a volume perspective, that limits his ability to get there also. So, yeah, I like the under here.
Fantastic. So lots of value still potentially if you're looking at a price. We've seen some numbers move here, a pretty significant amount. But as you mentioned, well north of minus 200 for the break even at 5.5. So the goal here is to get everybody betting at the same time. It's obviously going to be at different sports books. It was good to see that everybody was able to get better than sort of the average market price with this release. But again, for people commenting in the channel, it's tricky to get everything right. And this is show number 2. So we're going to keep watching books, see who's moving, and we're going to try make it as widely available for everybody as possible. And what I want to sort of point out is if you're in the chat, there's a lot of people who are replying to when the bet is being made. And the reason we're doing that is so you can see, with so many regulated books available in a lot of states now, we're kind of getting at the lay of the land, so to speak, within this chat that's going to help everybody going on as we do show by show. So we're reading all of that, and we appreciate all the comments and the messages, and we're going to try continue to make this as widely available as possible for all the episodes ahead. But today's release, very successful for a lot of folks, but we're going to continue to try make it as widely available as possible. But as you mentioned, great matchup for the prop here, pretty significant value versus where the Bad X projections make it. Highly recommend everybody getting over and following Derek for all his baseball information. The projection side, it's as good as it gets, and it's vouched for by some of the people that I respect most in the betting industry. So it's fantastic to do another show and get 2 in a row here for you, everybody, on opening day, and then immediately getting to do this morning on the day after. So Derek, let's get this K-prop home under 5.5 on Evaldi, and we will be back with everybody Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Enjoy the game today, guys. Chat to you